In 2015, researchers played family voices to coma patients, not random voices, their own families. A mother telling an old story, a sibling describing a memory, someone saying the patient's name in a voice the brain had known for years. The recordings were played through headphones, 4 times a day for 6 weeks. And from the outside, nothing dramatic happened. No one suddenly sat up. No one opened their eyes like a movie character. The patient stayed still, silent, unreachable. But inside the brain, something changed. The familiar voices were not just disappearing into empty space. The brain reacted. And patients who heard those familiar stories recovered consciousness faster than patients who did not. Can people in a coma hear us? We usually imagine coma as sleep. That is the comfortable version. A person lies in bed. Their eyes are closed. The room is quiet. Everyone whispers. So the brain says, ah yes, sleep. But coma is not sleep. Sleep is a door. Sometimes it is locked. But if someone shakes you, calls your name, or drops a spoon in the kitchen at 2 a.m., your brain can come back. A coma is different. The door is not just closed. The hallway behind it may be damaged. The body is right there. The person is not. At least not in the way we understand. And that is why families keep talking. Because when someone you love is lying in front of you, silence feels impossible. You say their name. You tell them who visited. You remind them of home. You talk about normal things because normal things suddenly feel sacred. The weather, the dog, the garden, a story they had heard too many times. And for years, people wondered if this was mostly for the family. Maybe talking helped the people standing beside the bed. Maybe it gave them something to do with their fear. Maybe the patient heard nothing. But the familiar voice study made that answer less simple. Researchers were working with patients who had severe traumatic brain injuries. Family members recorded personal stories from the patient's life, the kind of stories that belong to a person. Then the researchers watched the brain. And the strange thing was this: a familiar voice did not behave like meaningless noise. The brain showed responses. Not proof that the person was fully awake. Not proof that they understood every sentence, but proof that the brain was not always as silent as the body looked. That is the difference people miss. Hearing is not just sound entering the ear. A doorbell can ring in an empty house. That does not mean someone is home. But if the lights flicker when one specific person knocks, now you have a mystery. A stranger's voice is sound. A familiar voice is different. It carries memory, emotion, safety, history. Your brain does not treat every sound equally. A voice you love is not just audio. It is a key. And maybe in some injured brains, that key can still touch something. Not open the whole door, not bring the person back instantly, but touch it. That is why the question, can they hear you, is so difficult. The honest answer is not a clean yes, and it is not a clean no. It is closer to this. Sometimes the brain may respond. Sometimes it may not. Sometimes sound may enter, but awareness may not return. And sometimes a person may come back with fragments, a voice, a song, a memory that someone was there. Other people remember nothing. Not darkness, not dreams, not fear, just a missing piece of life. One moment exists. Then the next moment is days later, or weeks, or longer. Imagine your life as a movie. Then imagine someone cuts out the most terrifying chapter, but everyone else watched it. When you wake up, they have to explain what happened, where you were, who visited, why your body feels different, why everyone looks exhausted, why your family reacts like you just returned from another planet. Waking from a coma is not always one beautiful moment. Sometimes it is slow. Someone may open their eyes but not understand the room. They may move before they can speak. They may recognize a voice before a face. They may react to something small, then disappear again into confusion. The brain does not restart like a phone. It comes back like a city after a blackout. A few lights first, then one street, then a building. And in the middle of all that, families are trying to read every sign. A twitch, a blink, a yawn, a hand moving slightly. When you are scared, every tiny movement looks like a message, but the body can do things without awareness. Reflexes can happen. Automatic dramatic movements can happen. A person can seem to react, while the conscious mind is still unreachable. That is the cruel part. Hope starts looking for evidence everywhere. A blink becomes a sentence. A breath becomes a promise. Sometimes that hope is wrong. Sometimes it is right. And nobody wants to be the person who missed the moment. So families keep showing up. They sit beside the bed. They talk into a silence that may or may not be empty. From a medical point of view, the machine matters. The scan matters. The injury matters. The treatment matters. But from the human side, one thing still makes sense. If there is even a small chance that a familiar voice can reach the brain, then you speak kindly. You say their name. You tell them where they are. You tell them they are not alone. Not because you can guarantee they understand, but because you cannot guarantee they do not. That is what makes coma so haunting. It is not death. It is not sleep. It is not some secret dream world we can neatly explain. It is a state where the body is present, the brain is injured, and the person is hidden behind a door we do not fully know how to open. And the scariest part is how normal it can look. A quiet room, a still body, a family waiting. But somewhere inside, the brain may be doing something no one in the room can see. Fighting, protecting, repairing, reacting. Maybe to nothing. Maybe to a sound. Maybe to one voice it still knows. So can people in a coma hear us? The best answer is not always. Not like normal. Not like a conversation. But sometimes the brain may still listen more than the body can show. And that changes everything. Because if someone you love is trapped behind a locked door, you do not know if they can hear you knocking. But you knock anyway.